Hi, and welcome to Couch Theater. I'm Stefan, your host, and I have two guests again with me this time. We have Cassi.
Hey, dudes.
And Tyler.
What's up?
And today we're going to be talking about a movie, a little bit different, Piece of Candy episode.
Ooh, piece of candy.
Which basically, it's just going to be a fun movie. We're going to delve into it and just have a good time. We're not going to psychoanalyze it as much as we normally would.
Speak for yourself.
Get out of here, Tyler.
Well, I just want to put it this way. It has a lot of really interesting qualities to it, and I think it definitely deserves talking about because it's really interesting, but it's definitely not an amazing movie like the best movie in the world. So going into that with low expectations, I think you'll come out with a lot more.
Okay.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's a movie to have fun with. And I think we're going to have some really interesting discussions afterwards.
We don't like fun here.
Why is she always naysaying?
Because I'm kind
Naysayer.
You're the crabby one.
I'm a little crabby.
The movie we're going to be watching today is I Am Mother. It's a Netflix original, and it just came out this year. Actually, I think like a month or two ago. So 2019.
Haven't even heard of it.
Yeah.
We're both new to this one.
So, yeah, how to prepare you for this. So it's a sci-fi, and that's mostly what I want to say about it. I mean, so in the beginning, there's going to be text, and it's going to explain a little bit about what's going on. It's a post-apocalyptic world, and I think you should probably not think about that too much. So
not think about the text too much?
Not think about the text too much. Okay. The important bit is, the humans are dead.
Aww.
Humans are dead.
Oh, poor humans.
Yeah, most of the movie is going to take place inside of this bunker. All right, so the only theme I can really think about right now that I think is important is human nature. There's a lot of philosophy going on in the background, and I guess you have to ask yourself, what does it mean to be human? And what morals and ethics come naturally, and what are those that are taught? To unpack that, it would just be, can good people become bad, and can bad people become good just by situations or being taught in certain ways? Yeah, and I guess, is there any redemption in that?
Sounds like fun.
Nature versus nurture
okay.
And whatnot.
But honestly, I think that's pretty much all we need to start this movie.
Post-apocalyptic. Don't think about the text too much.
Fun
Humans are
sci-fi
dead.
Movie. Humans are dead. Bunker.
And we're going to have candy.
And at this point, I think that's all I want to say. So both these fine folks have not seen this movie, but I have, of course. So they're going to go in blind, and you should be going and watching this too. I Am Mother on Netflix. So pause now, go watch the movie, and then come on back and we'll talk. All right, so we're back. That was a movie.
That was a movie.
It was a good movie.
It was a very good movie.
All right, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Okay, good talk. See you later.
Bye.
That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. I'm glad that you mentioned not to pay attention to the text at the beginning because that was very important.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the big thing is the years, like how many days translate to years. And I think it could be a little distracting to turn it into, you calculate in your mind and you go, well, she's obviously not in her 30s, so what's happening? And yeah, I think like we talked about earlier, I think Hilary Swank looks a lot like daughter. And so you could get distracted thinking somehow they're related. I doubt that they are. Really doubt that they are.
Yeah, I never really had that thing. And honestly, I can't not pay attention to things like you prepped us to. So I was just like, okay, sure, right on. And I was paying attention to it, but there were enough red herrings to throw me off the trail from what the actual thing was, especially because of the way the little gestation pod worked, where it went from an embryo to a baby in a day. And so my biggest guess was that it was a case of artificial longevity where she was in her teens physically, but she had been alive for 40 years.
Oh, okay.
And I thought that was supported by the pod thing, but also it would be kind of reinforced by the rigorous testing. And especially the level at which she was being tested. Like, it seemed like Mother was trying to teach her how to do everything and be just like a superhuman. Like, that was definitely communicated really quickly.
Yeah.
Just her methods, I thought, were spread out over time.
Like,
she even
not
said,
only is she a doctor, she's a surgeon at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like an electrician and a mechanic. Like, she was like fixing all of the like electrical issues that were going wrong. Anything that went wrong with Mother, she would fix it instantly. And so she was just like a really, really intelligent person. So I could see where you would have gotten that like artificial longevity thing from.
Well, she's also spread into the humanities too, like all of the philosophy that she's learning. I mean, a lot of work to understand those concepts. So she's creating a superhuman, and we learn that she is responsible. Mother is responsible for the destruction of the human race, the ultimate destruction of the human race. It sounds like maybe things weren't going so well, but it's like Skynet 1 kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I was definitely getting like iRobot vibes too.
There were like multiple stories about what exactly happened. There was a contagion, and then they mentioned wars. And so it seems like what it was is, you know, nuclear fallout from wars has made everything suck outside, just not to the extent at which Mother has daughter believe in the beginning.
Yeah, it's unclear exactly what happened, but the Earth is like scorched.
Yeah,
there's nothing left. So let's talk about Mother's character for a little bit. I found her really interesting. I thought the choice of making her voice seem like very, very human, like have a lot of human intonation, was a cool choice.
Oh yeah, definitely. It would have, it's easy to get sucked into thinking that she was just like a safe place from the very beginning, you know, the like warming things that she had when she was cradling the babies. And it was just very easy to get sucked into the fact that she was a safe place.
I think her intelligence is majorly underplayed throughout the whole movie. Like, you definitely find her very intelligent, but you still put her in the robot half of things, like unfeeling. You know, the voice makes her sound very human, but you're reminded constantly that she's a robot, and so she thinks of things very linearly. And yet, I think as we get towards the end of the movie, I lean more towards Mother being far more intelligent, not only like logically as her ability to process information gives her, but also emotionally, and her understanding of human nature and how humans will react to things is to a degree that is just godlike, in my opinion.
Well, if you think about the fact that she is, you know, this all being where she's been a part of every human interaction since whatever fallout happened, and probably before that, she's had a lot of time to process how human behavior and how they react to things. And so I feel like it plays a little bit like, I guess, emotional intelligence with that. Because it's all been just like her watching humans constantly and realizing, like, coming up with a schematic for what their reactions would be for different types of people, and then trying to train daughter to having an appropriate reaction that isn't going to have some sort of ill effect on others.
Yeah, she has a very hands-on approach to that kind of experimentation when you consider the things that Hilary Swank's character said that the robots have done. And, you know, but at the end of the movie, when they specify all of those things are Mother, it's all one consciousness, then that, you know, lets you know that everything was that one person who you said was, you know, was a safe space.
Yeah.
So her methods were thorough.
Well, it reminds me of the Holocaust a little bit. Like, the German scientists during the Holocaust did all sorts of experiments on prisoners in a concentration camp, and including like twin studies and just crazy, ridiculous procedures. We like the amount of medical knowledge that they gleaned from the Holocaust is sickeningly amazing. Like they learned a lot during that time. They killed a bunch of people to get that information, experimented on people like animals, like we do with animals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's seemingly what Mother did during all that time. She tortured people, starved them, was just a few of the things that Swank's character talks about.
I mean, she definitely develops some proper human emotion by the end of the story. especially considering she like exacts revenge and spite upon Hilary Swank.
Oh, do you think it's revenge?
Something like that, you know. It's she showed up and the very first thing that she said was in like this spiteful catty tone. She was like, did you really think she would stay here? Like,
yeah,
you know, that's a pissed off robot being shitty.
Agreed. She has a lot of emotion in statements like that. Yeah.
That was an interesting scene, definitely. I knew it was like all unconscious, but I really didn't expect to hear Mother's voice because we had that big old farewell scene with her. And so I wasn't expecting to hear her voice again for some reason. And so it kind of threw me off when I did.
Made it a little spooky.
I was like, whoa, we just saw you die.
It's also a cooler robot.
It was a cool robot.
Yeah, I like the lights that indicated the mouth movements.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool choice. At first, it's hard to get used to, but I think once you get into it, it's like you're watching her mouth to kind of gauge what she's thinking or feeling emotionally. You know, and sometimes it's like very over-exaggerated, like, happy birthday, daughter, and then, you know, the lines go up as far as possible. Or like when Swank's character has the knife to daughter's throat, it's obviously like a line like as far down as possible.
Yeah.
Small things like that were kind of fun.
Yeah, she was really interesting. She kind of reminded me, like her head reminded me of just like a computer tower.
It has like an alien almost like feel, the elongation of the head. And,
yeah.
Like Alien, like the movie Alien.
Yeah.
There were lots of images in this movie that really reminded me of Alien. Specifically, lots of the running around in the hallways as they're escaping. All of that just looked like Alien.
Let's go back to Mother's intelligence a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, we obviously know Mother had a lot of control over the situation the entire time. I think she had almost complete control the entire time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it even showed like her when she was playing the recording of them talking. Like she totally knew everything that was going on.
Well, I have no doubt that daughter is being watched at all times. Like, I don't think there's ever a moment she's not being watched. I'd say even to the point where she gets to the beach and it's like, oh, these are the mines. Like, no, she was trying to throw, like Swank's character is trying to throw Mother off the scent. I think the only thing that goes against that is the tracking device in the bag at the end. But in my opinion, I think that Swank's character, the woman, was kept alive this whole time, or at least guided to this moment by Mother. I don't think that maybe Mother created the woman, but I think that the reason that she's there at that point, the reason that she's lived this entire time was for this purpose. And the purpose being this entire movie, the moment that we start seeing the young daughter, the moment where she has become a woman, it's just an elaborate test. It's the whole thing as a test, from setting up the mouse and showing, I will kill anything that's outside. Now here's a human. How are you going to react to all of this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely, I mean, I agree. It's definitely some sort of test, and especially with the amount of exaggeration that she put on your exams, you know, we're going to do your exams. We can't postpone them. Mm-hmm. And so I definitely think that it's all part of like some sort of test that she was doing on daughter, and that's kind of cool.
Well, and I think, you know, so there are some things that can be tested just strictly on paper, but there are other things that humans require as far as a test would be to test moral character that can't be done on paper. It has to have a organic aspect to it. Mm-hmm. And so this was that organic test that Mother is, in my opinion, has been planning for decades up to this moment.
Yeah, and it plays into the fact that she's just striving for like the perfect humanity. Like that's what she says is that her goal. I mean, maybe that's not her goal and that's just what she's saying. But she kept on saying how she was trying to create a new humanity that was better to each other. She
elevate her creator.
Elevate her creator. That's the term.
It's weirdly optimistic in that way.
And so she wouldn't be able to really test daughter's humanity without another human involved.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of plays into that. Like she needed a human. She needed a human that has been through trials. She needed a human that didn't have a great life to see how daughter would react to that.
Yeah. There seemed to be a lot about, as far as the philosophy angle, the survivability of the individual or the group and what motivates you. if you were to be asked, what was this test? So it was a test. We established that this woman and her interactions with daughter are a very elaborate test. What exactly is it testing?
Her humanity, her reactions to different people, because that was one thing I was thinking about, was that daughter was, I don't even know, 15, 16 years old, and she had never really socialized with another human, and she saw one and she just kicked right into being like perfectly able to socialize. And so I feel like it was just testing, because as you were saying, Mother was creating the superhuman, this like perfect human being. I think that she felt like she had succeeded, so she just wanted to have this test to find out that she could give up the reins and allow daughter to maybe start taking over with the process of creating the family and raising the family and taking care of them and creating this new elevated human being.
Yeah, it was really just a road test. She had been on rails her entire life. This was the first time where she actually had to not only make her own decisions, but like defy direction given to her. Like, in order to pass this test, she would have to make decisions that explicitly went against what she was told to do. And that tests your ethics, it tests your initiative, it tests confidence. Like, there's so many different aspects of your personality that get tested when you're put into situations like that, where it's like, well, I have to go against what I'm being told to do the right thing.
And not only from Mother, who's like this, talk about godlike figure. She's the only person, the only entity that she's ever known. And then this new woman comes in and, Mother's character is called into conflict. Is she really looking out for me? So she has to weigh between these two people, these two authority figures, and she doesn't go with either one of them.
They both lie to her.
They both lie to her a lot.
She's never not had somebody lie to her. Her entire life has just been a gigantic lie, and she just troops through it and is like, okay.
She rolls through it.
She's like, I got this. It's fine. Screw you guys.
It does leave open to debate, like, what she's going to do next, because they're not really explicit. She doesn't really state anything. Mother's intentions. What she's, like, supposed to be doing, but this all rests on what I think is kind of a flawed premise, is that Mother even had a good idea. Mother could have been like, she seems super wrong. We don't typically practice eugenics in a modern society, so it's like no. I don't really know if saying that she's ready to take on Mother's task is even where we should go with this. But I think that's part of the discussion of the movie, is it's just, what is that character going to do with the tools she's been given?
I feel like she's definitely going to start with the family, because that's been her main driving point. Like, everything, like from when she was a child, that was probably not the same child, but from the very beginning, she just kept on wanting her family, her brothers, her sisters. And so that was like her main weakness. She went back for her brother, and she didn't want to leave the embryos with Mother because she didn't want them to die. And so I definitely see her going forward and creating, a family for herself, because she's been missing that.
Well, I think, and that's the part of humanity that Mother really cherishes. Like, she goes back not because of survival and not because it's the right thing to do, but a combination of the two. A combination of the three. I think there's survivability, like, am I going to do something that literally might kill me? Then there's Kantian theory, where it's like, just do the right thing because it's the right thing, and just always do that, and that's the only reason you should do things. And then utilitarianism, which is you're weighing what will bring the best outcome. And so in those three, there's like this middle path that humanity kind of nests in. And it seems to me that that's what Mother is trying to get daughter to follow.
Yeah.
This middle path. So I guess the other thing that might be kind of interesting to talk about, and you had touched on it, was eugenics bad, but not specifically eugenics, but maybe a non-human leader of sorts. There's another show that's on Netflix that touches on this a little bit.
What?
It's basically about these imposters that come from the future, anyways. But the point is that you learn they're given these orders. The reason that they do things is because of one superior intelligence, and that intelligence is robotic in nature. Like, we've created a super intelligent computer that basically makes decisions for us because we've come to realize that humans cannot make these complex decisions for themselves. at least not altruistically. And so we make a supercomputer that makes the decisions for us. And it seems like maybe they did this here in this world, but it like majorly backfired.
Well, I don't know. I've been thinking about it a little more even since I just said stuff a couple minutes ago. Mother used brutal culling methods to make the perfect human. But the first time she found a perfect human, she, if we're going on this premise, passed the reins off onto her, because she is the actual mother, She trusted that the difference between mother and daughter is that daughter was going to have the wherewithal and the humanity that mother couldn't ever possibly have to actually lead the human race into a new civilization.
Right.
And so she's making her own, mother 2.0. And that sense of family is, I guess, what she believed in the most. And when she says her prime directive is the preservation of humanity, it's that she believes that a proper parental influence is all that it really takes to make a perfect human, or quote unquote perfect human, who will be capable of something like that. She believes so much in the role of mother, but also can't fulfill it herself because she's a robot.
Right.
Well,
yeah,
and
I agree.
She believes like a whole lot in community too, which is what a family is. It's just a close, or a community can be considered a family. I do wonder about the people in the mines. Like that one kind of lost me a little because Hilary Swank's character was talking about the people in the mines and how they weren't good to each other or treating each other well. But we learned that she hasn't been in the mines for, lengthy periods of time. So I'm a little lost on that storyline.
I mean, it just seemed like she probably was in the mines for most of her life. And then a few years ago, she left because that place was worse than being off by yourself in the wilderness somewhere.
I was kind of thinking that it was, and I don't know, I guess we've come to the conclusion that mother didn't have anything to do with Swank's character, but I was just kind of wondering if it was some sort of implant, like memory implant.
I think mother had a lot to do with Swank's character.
Yeah.
I think that, there was a lot of distraction of like, where are the mines? Because she was manipulating Swank's character too and not telling her everything and making her think certain things. Mm-hmm. I think that, and this is a lot of supposing, I think that the group that was in the mines, mother was well aware of them. Mm-hmm. And Swank leaving them and going off to herself alone, maybe she was the only survivor, or maybe Swank left on her own. But I think mother was watching the entire time. And this little group was sort of the last remainder of humans from the time before. And that's what mother needed for this final test.
And I mean, mother was also the attack bots, and that was who chased her into the bunker. So
right. Yeah,
it's just knowing that she has that like omniscient presence, there really is no other explanation than she did influence everything. Yeah. Maybe it didn't cause everything necessarily, but it was like, well, Swanky, let's get over to the bunker now.
Yeah. You go to bunker now.
I'm going to direct some drones your way. And
exactly. No, I think that's exactly what happened. And I don't know, I feel like once you start to really delve into what mother has done to orchestrate this entire thing, it's like, I think a second watch is really important. Like if you both have a chance, like watch it a second time and just see the way mother says things, the way she puts things and puts thoughts into both daughter and the woman's head to get them to do certain things. It starts to make me think of the level of dedication that she has and control over the situation, which is just ultimate.
Well, I was thinking while Tyler, you were talking about how mother didn't actually cause everything to happen, but we were saying earlier about mother's emotional intelligence and the way that she learned how humans are going to react to things. So she very well could have, foreseen at least a few different outcomes of how Hilary Swank's character is going to react, and just played it in a way that would have ended in what she needed. It would have had a result ending in the woman being in the bunker.
Well, and I'd say that this next phase where daughter is going to start raising children herself and trying to start humanity again, I mean, that's just another test. It's not to say that mother is going to wipe the slate clean again and start over, because she's just learning and she has all the time in the world, potentially.
Didn't stop her before.
And who's to say this is the only location she's doing this in? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what do we see? Like 5 square miles of the world?
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it.
Mind blown.
Yeah. Whoa. I thought the acting was pretty great. I
Yeah.
mean, both from the daughter and Swank's character, particularly daughter.
Oh, she was incredible. That girl's going places. She
Mhm.
was phenomenal.
Felt like the way she reacted to certain things, like some of the moments are incredibly powerful, like when she finally discovers that her mother, this person that she's idolized and worshipped her entire life, is responsible for the destruction of the human race.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, like murdered her family, because she's been calling the embryos her family this entire time,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
is pretty shocking. And the way that she acts that moment is well done, I think.
Yeah, and like when she was holding the gun to Mother, like she still wavered. You know, I feel like in a lot of other movies there wouldn't have been a waiver, but she wavered and she hesitated and she wasn't going to necessarily pull the trigger. But I thought that was really unique and special because it talks about her morality and the fact that she does hold family very highly. And even though Mother is this, you know, monstrous thing that destroyed humanity and killed her family, she's still her mother and she's still the only family she's had. And so I think it just speaks to daughter's, you know, sense of family and how important it is to her.
Yeah, I feel like that moment where she shoots Mother, I mean, is a very symbolic moment. I think there's a lot going on there.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess, I don't know, a goodbye to childhood, becoming an adult, like shunning your parents, the ones that raised you.
Remember when I shot my mom?
Yeah. Fuck you, Mom.
Pew, pew.
I don't know why you got a southern drawl in that scenario, but you do. You grew out of it, you know.
It just happens whenever I'm shooting people.
I think a part of the test, I guess, training for the next phase where daughter's going to be in charge is when she was explaining to her, you know, that sometimes mothers need time to learn how to be a mother.
Yes.
That was incredible. That was
so dark on the second watch.
There's
You're
so
like,
many lines like
so
that.
dark.
yeah.
I like heard it the first time and I'm like, oh wow, you know, that's actually pretty solid. It's hard being a mother, I would
Yeah.
imagine. Like, yeah, they need some time to learn. And then like as it goes on, I'm like, oh gosh.
Well, I think there's a point where Mother's voice, which is this like motherly, nice, calming voice, becomes super creepy. She's just so calm and concerned and loving this whole movie in her voice, and yet she's like a cold-hearted monster. I don't know. And those, of course, diverging qualities exemplify each other really well.
They do. Way to go. Who was it? Rose Byrne? She
Yeah,
nailed
Rose Byrne
it.
is the
Great
voice of Mother, yeah.
I want to shout out to the line where Mother tries humor, because there wasn't a whole lot of silliness in the movie. Like, it was good, but there wasn't a whole lot of humor, and I am a sucker for some comedy. And so I really enjoyed when she was like, that was a try at humor. And it was just, it was funny because you also have to think about the fact that daughter was raised by Mother who's not, you know, humorous. And so she tried to utilize humor on somebody who hasn't been around humor. And so just thinking what the outcome would be in that situation is just a little silly.
It was kind of underdeveloped how she did have a sense of humor, only from the fact that she watched the Tonight Show, and specifically we only saw her watch 2 comedians on the Tonight Show. So it's like she has the concept of humor, but I don't know, I never really saw any sort of other significance to that other than just to kind of give an example of an interest that she has in a way that she has helped keep human.
Or maybe it's because Mother's the one that provided the Tonight Show, and so maybe that is a part of humanity that Mother finds important, is some sort of humor, comedic relief, which is how daughter was introduced to it, because Mother probably was like, hey, watch these. It could signify that is something that Mother finds important in humanity.
But that she's not capable of teaching.
Yeah, because she
or
tried.
emulating.
Yeah, she tried, and it just didn't work.
I mean, I guess the only thing that we could flesh out a little bit more is the separation of good human qualities from bad human qualities that Mother really seemed to try to solidify with daughter. To go back to the philosophical conflicts, we have Kantian theory talking about always doing the right thing. And then there's that, what do they call them? Like a psychological mock test. Mother sets up the story. There are 5 people who need organs, and there's you, a doctor, you're healthy and you have all those organs, you can donate them and save 5 people. Would you do that? And then daughter brings in the secondary thought, which is, well, are these humans worthwhile? I mean, the outcome of me sacrificing my life, a doctor who can save more lives, would that be worth sacrificing myself for one grace, one saving of 5 people? And these 5 people could potentially add chaos or something negative to humanity as a whole.
And I do find it interesting too when they're talking about, good qualities in humanity and bad qualities in humanity, the fact that daughter has been lied to, which lying is not usually looked at as a good quality in humans. And so
and yet it's something that all parents do, right?
It is. I guess I wonder if lying to daughter, I mean, I know that there's multiple reasons why she had to lie, because she couldn't be like, hey daughter, your whole life I've been the one killing everyone. She's also the reason why it came out. Like daughter would not have found out about it unless mother wanted her to. And so I'm just wondering if that was like a way to solidify the negativity of lying and to maybe try and make daughter strive for more truth in her life, or if it's giving daughter a certain tool that could potentially pollute the perfect humanity.
I think it was to teach her a level of discernment, to remind her that she doesn't actually need to necessarily trust somebody 100% of the time, that there might be a reason why you should question what people say.
Yeah, I think there was utility in 2 parts, both what you said. I mean, obviously, mother couldn't tell daughter that she was, the harbinger of death to the human race, because that would, mess up the entire experiment. But also for the fact that the lying at certain moments and then the revealing of that lying at other moments was instrumental in the test becoming complete, of the effectiveness of the test itself. Because the discovery of the lies and the deception and her reaction is a big part of the test.
Yeah, and it speaks very highly to daughter's character. The fact that she doesn't just lose it and reel into dark despair, finding out her entire life was a lie.
Yeah.
And the fact that she just puts her head up and just goes forward with it, it shows a lot of strength. And so it brings out the negativity of the lie, brings out the positivity of the other aspects of daughter.
Yeah. Well, you have that moment where she gets out of the bunker with the woman, and then they get to the beach where the woman set up this little shack, and daughter has that moment of like, why did I leave with you? Like, what was the purpose of you bringing me here? Like, I was fine.
Yeah.
I was living in safety, and I had food and shelter and a mother that loved me, apparently, I thought. So what was the point of me coming here? That wrestling with survivability and then overcoming it, I think, is really interesting.
What did she say? Like, who is this good for?
Yeah, who? Right. It was good that you left. Like,
good for who?
Yeah. When the daughter is interacting with the woman, and Swank's character, the woman, is like, "What, you want a little pet human?" It's like Swank steals her from the bunker effectively to do the same. Like, I need human comfort too, and I haven't had it for a long time, and so there's almost this protection element and also like a need at the same time. Humans need social interaction.
They do.
For mental stability.
What did you guys think? Because the origami, and it wasn't just like origami, it was beautiful origami.
Yeah.
Do you think that was playing into like good qualities in humans as well, like creativity? Or do you think that it was trying to like feed some sort of softness?
Well, origami is it's specifically about discipline. So it is kind of interesting to try and apply that, because discipline isn't really a word that we've used today. Mm-hmm. Maybe in reference to the discipline that mother is showing in the meticulous planning of things. Maybe the discipline that daughter is going to need to show to be the mother of civilization.
I completely agree. I mean, origami, it requires a lot of different skills, spatial, mathematics, and artistic form in a sense. You see the origami that she's been making, and I know a little bit about origami. I've been doing it a long time. There are basic folds, like you make a crane, and there's just a set way to do that, and you do that every time, and it makes the same thing every time. And the way that it turns out is how good you are at following directions and following them accurately. But some of the things that she's made on there, like the tree and the horse, some of the more complex animals that she makes, those are more led to her artistic skill, because you're not only using folds that are forming a particular thing, you're also bending the paper and ripping it and shaping it to make a particular shape that isn't necessarily cookie cutter. It's up to you, that artistic form.
Yeah, because it was like definitely origami, but it had a lot more curvature to it than any origami I've ever seen. And it was really beautiful. And so it was almost somewhere between origami and sculpture. And it was just like a really nice aspect to it. And I think that it probably does play into like the discipline as well as the creativity and, mathematics, because Mother's trying to have her be like a really logical person, but you do need some sort of arts. You do need some sort of creativity outlet as well.
Yeah. Well, I think like a complete person. So, I mean, not only does she know how to be a doctor and a surgeon, she's also a philosopher. And she's explored the humanities. She dances and does this origami, which is a merging of a bunch of other things, but artistic qualities and being able to think critically and also logically at the same time, this incredible balance of all things together to make a human.
I know what we didn't talk about.
What didn't we talk about?
Nature versus nurture.
Oh, okay.
And you're talking about, I guess we did talk about it. We just didn't
I didn't want to explicitly say nature versus nurture because
there was like no nature. When nature didn't work out, the oven came into play.
Yes.
Nature worked out fine. Mother just didn't like it.
Hence the oven.
What happened to the dog? Did it die?
I mean, I don't think Mother cared. So yeah, probably.
Damn it.
Of starvation.
No, it ate a mouse.
No, there's nothing living. That mouse was bred by Mother.
It could very well be true. Genetically engineered mouse.
She just had a mouse-scaled embryo machine.
Many mouse bodies have gone to the incinerator because they didn't level up to what a mouse should and could be.
They didn't chew that wire right.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Couch Theater. My guests this episode are Cassi Gablick and Tyler Standifird. Artwork by Rupert Lee, or Robot, who you can follow on Instagram at 20th Century Robot. All episodes are written and produced by me, Stefan Cowper, along with a few questionable baselines. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, listen to us on YouTube, or you can follow us on Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, or Twitter, all under Couch Theater. We hope that you enjoyed this episode of Couch Theater, and that you come back next time for another movie and another conversation.
I don't know if I could carry that many embryos.
Well, you could grab like 5 or 6.
They just melt in the sun, though.
Throw them in a fridge real quick.
Embryos, they melt in your sun, not in your hand.